Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Albers, joined here with John Raymond, and we have a special presentation going on here. We're going to have the 1981-82 basketball team, and John, if you remember right, they were a very special team. I don't know the exact record. I know they only lost 2 games. I want to say 24-2, 22-2.
Yeah, I think that's you're right there on that one.
They were number 3 in the state and number 1 in the city of Cincinnati. So we're going to try to get show some of these guys and honoring them, and it was a very, very special team.
Well, Dan, I'm lucky enough I get to do all the trophy cases out here at the school, and of course one of the biggest trophies we have in there is from that city championship team. And obviously the head coach at Anderson, Frank Brandy, was on that team along with many others. And it was, what's so special about it was I don't think any of the starters went on to play college basketball. They were just a good high school basketball team.
I think the only one that might have done something was Tim Ferguson, went on to Tennessee Chattanooga.
There you go. That's right.
And
that was the link to Dick Sanders because that's where he came from. So, but it looks like Pam Scott and Bill Miller's out there, and they'll go ahead and set this thing up. And we'll
and hopefully the table won't fall down.
Yeah, we got a packed house in here tonight, and you guys, as you watch this on television, you'll see that it's a loaded house. Both sides, it's boxed up all the way outside, and there can't be much more people in Anderson Township than sitting here in this gymnasium.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable, and this is the way it should be. For years it kind of died down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think with what happened in the playoff games and the football, it's kind of brought back that rivalry.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This is great to see. It used to be like this back in the day, and it's great to see.
Yeah, I mean, it rolls back to even my day when Turpin wasn't here and McNick. This place was so packed solid with people, it was unbelievable, and it's that atmosphere tonight.
It should be good, and it's great that these guys are coming back. From what I understand, pretty much all of them are back except for maybe one, and that is going to be Joe Dayton.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it's going to be good. So we're going to try to keep it zoomed in here on center court and try to get as many guys. And we'll kind of talk about them. If you remember, I kind of remember some of these guys.
Sure.
One thing that I do remember is that they did play in that championship game or that regional final, whatever it was. That was the day John Belushi died. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, you got me on that one.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But obviously a special thing is, again, as you see center court, athletic director Pam Scott is along with our superintendent of schools, Dr. Jackson, and Dick Sanders is the head coach.
And here he comes right now, is Mr. Sanders.
Yeah, Dick was the coach here when I played back in the 70s. I think his first year was 72. And here comes Mike Center. You got a chance to talk with him a little pregame. Yep. Mr.
Lutterby, wow. Yeah. Where's he at?
I'm not sure if he's here tonight, but obviously Bud taught here for a long time. Here's Frank
Brandy.
Of course, current head coach here at Anderson, along with many other things that he does around the school. He's in the Hall of Champions as well for just not his basketball play, but for his coaching.
So, and then Sean Burdick.
Another Hall of Champion recipient. Heck of a football player, too.
Yeah, he's at the University of Cincinnati and set all kind of records there, too.
Yeah, here comes
Joe Dayton is not here, I don't think.
Yeah, they mentioned him, but Joe, I don't think made it in. But there's
Kevin Dossel. Did he make it?
I'm not sure. There's Tony
Dunaway.
Yeah. Tony looks like he brought his daughter along to enjoy the festivities tonight.
And Ron Evans, God, he was a good ball player too.
Now Ron played in a couple of the alumni games as well, so he's been back.
Tim Ferguson, wow.
There's a player there.
He could light it up.
Yes, he could. So it's great to see Tim back. And Dave. Now Dave is now coaching freshmen up here. One daughter graduated from Turpin last year, has a junior here this year.
Tim Harris is dad.
Actually, Bill's down there.
Bill's down there.
Yep.
Dave Lang. He's not here, I don't think.
Yep. There's Joe
Schott.
And, of course, Joe came from many shots that played basketball here at Anderson. And there's Bill.
And Bill
still
Chester.
Looking pretty tall and lean, isn't he?
How about that team?
Man,
that was a great team.
It was a great team.
And we'll try to get some of these guys probably after the game
Yeah, I think what we'll try and do is grab a couple of them and see if we can probably get Frank for sure. I guess it's what the final score is too. But just a great opportunity here to be able to honor one of the greatest basketball teams that came along, and obviously in the early 80s, and they're getting ready for their team shot now.
Yeah, it's just an awesome thing to see all these guys. And so we'll definitely try to get some of these guys here and bring this to you. It's everybody on Anderson Community Television. I'm sure it's going to bring back a lot of memories.
Yep.
There's
so got them all in. So
John and I we're going to take a break here. We just wanted to kind of show this special feature and get some of these guys on as you see them exiting the gym right now. And
we'll get back here and. Probably the hottest ticket in the township here tonight. So
we got a special thing here tonight. That's one of the reasons why we're broadcasting this game is we have a reunion from the 81-82 year, and we have one of the former coaches that was on that staff and coached the JV, and Mike Center. Mr. Center, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Some of these guys are coming in. They were a pretty special team. They were ranked, I think, as number 1 in the city of Cincinnati. They were 3 in the state. And if it wasn't for a kid named Byron Larkin, I think they might have went pretty far.
Yes, that was a special team. We saw them as sophomores as something special, and we really started pushing them and developing them as players. And by the time they were seniors, they came through with, a 23-2 record, I believe, and losing in the district regional finals to Moeller.
Yeah.
And Byron Larkin, that was his first game as a starter.
As a freshman?
Yeah. And he was filling in for an injured player, and he pretty much lit it up on us.
Yeah, and talk a bit about some of those guys. I mean, some of the guys I remember, Joe Dayton, Tim Ferguson, they had great balance. They had the inside, outside, and it was just an unbelievable. This place was so packed when these guys would play a game.
Well, Joe Dayton was a really special athlete. He was a 3-year all-city player in 3 sports: soccer, basketball, and baseball. And he's had phenomenal athletic ability. And so he kind of was our defensive guy. He was a great passer. He was a great rebounder. He took the ball to the basket. He was like 200 pounds, 6'3", taking the ball to the basket. Not too many people wanted to get in his way. So he was a pretty big force for us offensively and defensively. Then you had Tim Ferguson, who was about a 6'4" kid. He was a good rebounder and a great outside shooter. He could just nail jump shot after jump shot after jump shot from the outside. There had been a 3-point line back then.
I was going to say that, yeah.
He would have probably scored 30 points a game back in those days. And then we had Ronnie Evans, who's a big man on the inside. He made All-City that year. And lots of rebounds, good inside presence. It gave us that inside man that we needed. We had Frank Randy, who's now the present-day
coach,
Anderson coach, and he was our point guard. A good leader on the team, and got the ball where it was supposed to be, and played both ends of the floor very well. Real smart, heady player. And when we had Tony Dunaway as a starter, Tony was an excellent passer, really knew basketball. He just understood basketball very well. And he was one of the main guys to feed the ball to the inside to Ronnie Evans, and he could score on the inside. He's just a good offensive basketball player. And then off the bench we had Sean Burdick, who was a great athlete in football and a hard-nosed basketball player. He gave us that good man off the bench, come in and rebound and play great defense. So it was a fun, great team to work with.
And the guy that you were, Coach Sanders, was the head basketball coach. What was it like working with him?
Oh, he was, well, first of all, he gave me my break. I got to move up from middle school to junior varsity in 1976. And so I worked with him for all those years from 76 through 82. I learned a ton of basketball from him. He was my mentor and taught me so much about basketball. I still remember like quotes and things he would say to me, and it really influenced me and developed me as a basketball coach.
And talk a little bit about, we're here for the Anderson Turpin game. You had the privilege of coaching Anderson and then also Turpin. Is there any difference between the kids as far as ability-wise? Is it pretty much the same?
It kind of goes in cycles. You have good teams come along, and then you'll have teams that are not so talented to come along. It's kind of like that in both schools. And some years you hit together where you're both good, and it's a real tight, tough game all the way through. And the other years you'll have one school that's so much better than the other one. It ends up being a lopsided game. So
it just varies.
Yeah, it just varies from year to year.
Talk one thing. Just give me one memory that you remember the most about when you coached the team in 80, 81, 82. What was a game or a moment or something that stuck out in your mind?
Well, the game that was probably the most satisfying to me as a coach was when we went to Mount Healthy and played them in their gym, and they were really a good basketball team. They clobbered us, I believe, the year before, and we went there and put it on them on their floor. That was early in the season, and right there we kind of sensed that we had something special going there, and it just continued to snowball throughout the year. And then we went on, and another one of our nemesis was Oak Hills, and we beat Oak Hills at our place. We actually lost the game to them at their place that year, I believe.
And then came here and played them, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a tremendous game. So the Mount Healthy game sticks out in my mind the most of that year, the most satisfying for me. I don't know about the kids on the team, but for me it was.
Well, I really do appreciate taking the time. I know it's going to be a special night. It's going to be great, I'm sure, catching up. From what I hear, everybody's going to make it back, maybe except for Joe Dayton. So it's really a pleasure that you joined us. And I remember you as a coaching my brother, and I know I appreciate you as a coach and what you did at Anderson High School.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Coach Center, and we're back with some more interviews right after this. Anderson just played Turpin. Unfortunately, did lose, but got a very special guest here, and coach that I remember because my brother was playing on the JV, and Coach Sanders. And Coach, what a great night this was tonight, and great to see some of those former players.
Oh, it was great. That was such a great team and such a great bunch of guys that really played together and really had a really bond. And so it was great to see all of them and get back together. And, it was great that the school saw to honor those guys because they really had a fantastic year, their senior year. Yeah,
and you got one of your former players, Coach Frank Brandy's coaching now. What do you think about Frank? Is he as mellow as he was on the how is he compared to when he was on the court?
Well, Frank was a great leader on our team. I was just telling some folks that I think our team really, our program really was focused on trying to make each individual player better, and that was a responsibility that they worked hard in the summer all the time and in the off season. And Frank was one of those guys that really took a leadership role and got all the other guys together and always was kind of out there doing that. So it doesn't surprise me at all to see Frank coaching and, really helping people be better and putting together a nice team.
I interviewed Coach Center earlier, and we were talking about if they would have had a three-point line back when Tim Ferguson was playing, he would have just lit it up every night.
Yeah, Fergie was just such a great shooter, and not only was a great shooter, he had a really quick release, so people really had trouble defending him because he'd catch it and shoot it without people being able to really get on him. So Fergie was really, really a great player, and it was really nice to have Frank, kind of ran the show from the point, and then have Joe Dayton, who was just an incredible athlete that just did whatever needed to happen to win games. And those guys kind of had that attitude. Whatever it took to win, they were going to figure it out. But Joe was certainly, you could count on him to do something special. He'd always do things that amazed me in the game. If you needed something done, he did it. He was a pretty amazing guy. But then, of course, Ronnie Evans, when I finished my athletic director deal, I taught some and always told my students, this team I had, and I was teaching a class on administration. I had this team, and there were a lot of big egos on this team, so they didn't like to get kind of, yelled at and stuff. And Ronnie Evans was my guy. I could yell at Ronnie all the time, and he just kind of take it. There were big messages to the rest of them, you know what I mean? And that was kind of the little bond that Ronnie and I had. We kind of had. He understood what was going on, but it was really neat. And then, the younger guys with Sean Burdick and Dave Gilio, they really were really supportive, and whenever they had a chance, they really stepped up. So it was really a good team, and we were fortunate that, my time here, I had really good players, really good kids, going back to Kevin Galbraith and Rick Elliott, Mark Reed, Rick Becker, those guys. So pretty blessed, and what a great place to, play basketball. So.
Absolutely. I was asking Coach Center, what was one of the things with that team? What was one of the memories that stood out with you on any game in particular that you had?
Well, I think, it's funny because I was talking to Rick Elliott the other day, and we were talking and just things that I think he was really surprised that I could remember. But in this team, one of the things that I really remember is we played Oak Hills over there, and I think we were ranked 1 in the city, and they were ranked 2. And we kind of come down. We had been behind, and we, make some really good plays to get the game even. And it's a really critical play in the game, and they go to a zone, and Frank's playing the point, and he called a play that we hadn't practiced probably in a month. You know what I mean? I'm going, wow, that's pretty good. And it winds up being a play where Ferguson it's kind of against the grain type play, and Fergie gets about a 15-footer and buries it, and we beat him. But yeah, that was pretty cool. So I remember that. And but beating Oak Hills over there, which basically clinched the city championship, was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I remember the crowds that we had here tonight was probably like crowds you had for every game. I remember how crazy. I remember people sitting in the front.
Oh, yeah.
Right in front of the bench or right by the bench. And it was just, I remember it was an exciting time back then. And unfortunately, you hit a young kid named Byron Larkin that knocked you guys out.
Absolutely. I guess the ironic part of that game was, Frank had been such a really good player for us all year. For 3 years, Frank was a 3-year varsity player, and he had the flu that night, and he was sick, and he looked awful, and you could tell he felt awful, but, he's a pretty tough competitor, and he said, I can play, and you go, can you play, but, he had given so much to us in all year, he did play, but, he just couldn't play up to his capability, and I think that really was a big factor in what happened in that game. And I could tell you things that happened in that game that were just crazy. Yeah, Ferguson got a technical right at the end of the game where, I asked the referee, what did he get the technical for? He said, well, I didn't like the look on his face. And I said,
really?
Yeah, so you go, wow, we're playing, this really, really big game.
Right.
And yet that referee
didn't like it.
Didn't like the look on a kid's face, And I think it was Fergie's fifth foul out of the game. And I'm going, what do you expect a kid to do?
Really?
He didn't say a word. So
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, but it was a great run. Those kids really had a great year. It was really fun.
Where did you, after you left Anderson, where did you go? Did you go to Memphis? Is that correct?
I went to Memphis. I was associate AD at Memphis for 5 years, and then I spent 23 or 24 years as athletic director at Virginia Commonwealth.
Oh,
so
wow.
I retired in, what year? 2008 maybe. And
really?
So
well,
that was a good run. Yeah, Richmond was great. Richmond was great. We had a pretty good program there, so it was fun.
Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time. I always remember you, too, when I was a little kid sitting behind a bench and watching my brother. And it was just to see you guys and see Mr. Center and seeing some of these former players is just a great thing. And I'm glad you got to make it back, and appreciate what you've done for Anderson basketball.
Well, Anderson basketball was very good to me and my family. And, these kids, that's why I was telling people, I'm going back to see these kids I coach. I'm going, I think, well, they're not kids. That was 30 years ago, so they're probably late 40s, so not kids. But it was great to see these guys. They were the real deal. They made super commitment to have that success. So that was great to be part of it.
Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time, and have some safe travels back home if you're going back home. And it's really good to see you.
Great seeing you guys. This is neat what you guys do. That's really cool.
I appreciate it.
It's great. I'm sure they'll remember this and be able to see this stuff the rest of their life. So that's great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, thanks, and have a safe trip and have a Merry Christmas. All right.
Good luck to you.
All right, thank you. That's Coach Sanders joining us, and we'll be back hopefully with some more people here right after this.